I am a lazy artist, so let me be honest with you. Learning to draw anatomy is absolutely overwhelming. So today I want to share with you my simple system that I had to learn in order to improve my anatomy. Let me explain. The first thing I want to start off by saying, and that is if you're trying to learn to draw anatomy and you're an art baby, then you're trying to learn to run before you've even learned to walk. And sadly, this is a problem I had to learn on my own. You see, when I first started drawing anatomy, I didn't realize anatomy is the solution to a complex equation. And that in order to learn to draw, we have to learn the equation about how to understand basic shapes and how to use them. Now, at the end of this video, I'll share with you exactly the shapes that helped me transform my art. But first, let me ask you a question. Do you struggle with proportions? Do you struggle with getting the arms and legs the right length? Well, here is a tip I actually want to start off with. In order to have a strong drawing, you must first build on a strong foundation. And this is my belief. And that is the most important part of the human body isn't the legs or the head or the arms. The most important part of the human body is the torso. So if you're an art baby, I would start drawing the torsos first. But I'm sure one of the questions you're going to ask is, do we use boxes? Do we use beans? How about circles? And what about the line of action? Well, before I answer those questions, let me ask you another question, because I like asking questions. And that is, what is the best word to use in any sentence? Or what is the best symbol to use in math? Division, multiplication, subtraction, addition? I say this because when I was a beginner artist, the problem I faced was getting stuck in thinking that there was only one way to learn to draw. That there was only one tool that you could use. But the reality that I learned when learning to draw was not to stick into believing that there's only one solution to any problem. Rather, there is only the best solution that fits a particular circumstance. So what circumstances do I use to determine the shapes? Well, when it comes to perspective or heavy amounts of perspective, I like to use boxes. It's often easier to showcase perspective and distortion when using boxes. However, if my figures are more dynamic and twisting, then I find myself leaning more towards beams and cylinders. Now, if the figure is more muscular, I may use cylinders for the abdomen, but if the figure is a bit softer or heavier in size, then I might find myself using more circles. You see, it all depends on what tool best fits the job. Now, before we start talking about arms and legs, I need to share something that truly transformed my art. Now, of course, each and every muscle group is important. How muscles flex and relax is all important for artists to understand and to know. But what I feel is even more important are the individual muscles and understanding how they all fit as part of a whole story. You see, when I was learning to draw, discovering that what a figure does with the arms affects the torso and the head. Seeing how the legs move affects the way the torso counterbalances. And a simple but powerful realization I had when I was first learning is that all muscles, although separate, are still very much a part of a whole. And the drawing exercise that really unlocked that truth for me was gesture drawing. Because if you can learn to gesture draw, it will help you learn to tell the story and energy of a pose. And you'll be able to draw any pose you want and make it feel as if it has life, as if it has breath. Now let's talk about arms and legs. When I was an art baby, arms and legs were frustrating, especially when trying to deal with proportions. And one of the methods I do believe that helped shortcut the learning path for me was learning to draw the arms and legs by not drawing all the lumps and bumps, all the muscles and tendons. Instead of trying to learn all these different muscles, I learned to simplify the arms and legs into simple cylinders. And by using these cylinders, I was able to create more dynamic forms. And from there, I learned to use shapes and contour lines as a way to mimic the anatomy across the cylinders. Hands and feet. Feet and hands. I want to be honest with you. I still hate hands and feet. And like I've been saying through this whole video, I genuinely feel like a broken record at this point, but I have to say it. Keep it simple. When it comes to hands, I like to use blocks and cylinders to express the hands. And when it comes to feet, I simply like using triangles. But how do we use these simple shapes to help us draw any pose that we want? Well, watch this next video, and I'll teach you in less than 4 minutes.